In the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God, and the Word was God. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, and the evidence of things not seen. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever shall believeth on him shall not perish, yet have everlasting life. These thoughts come to my mind as I welcome you to my mania. Hello, everybody. It's Jake Johnson coming to you live from the internet, somewhere off the coast of North Carolina, hiding in the woods. How are you doing this very Merry Christmas? I've had a blast. I hope you have too. I hope your families are fine. I hope that Santa Claus came to, you know, party down with you a little. And now we got the new year, 2020, finally over. That doesn't mean anything because 2021 will be just as bad, if not worse. Because now all of that hyperventilating and hoopla is realized and in the White House. So, congratulations, America. Let's see how this 4 years works out. I'll tell you how it'll work out. Go back to 1999, at the height of all the war, from 99 to 2012, somewhere in that area. Hey, April. Hey, Kevin, what's happening? Didn't see you there. Did you have a good Christmas? Did you burn the Yule logs and uh, sit around the silvery tree, open presents, kiss under the mistletoe, all that good stuff? Yeah, I pretty much just stayed home. I did go eat with my sister, though, and she gave me some lovely things. Yes, I will tell you that my mother passed. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Are you okay? Lord, watch over Kevin and his mother's spirit and bring her into your arms gracefully and peacefully. Embrace her and take good care of her. Welcome her home. Thank you, Father, in Jesus' precious name. Amen. Are you okay? You need a drinking buddy, just give me a call. I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm sorry for your loss. I'll be praying for you all night. But you must realize and you must know that she is in a great place right now. And she is of sound mind and having conversations with the Lord. I would almost guarantee it. If not, she's in a line getting ready to get there. Don't mention it. May I ask her name? Just a couple of years ago, I experienced the same thing. I lost both of my parents. And I can relate. I know how that feels. So I'm on your side. I'm with you. My day was pretty good. I tinkered around on my new truck. I got a new truck this Christmas. Well, it's new to me. It's a piece of junk, but it's new to me. And it gets me from A to B, so that's what matters. Took me a lot of saving and a lot of basically miracle working on the part of the Lord. Nancy Grace. Lightfoot. Really? That's a good, strong name. Lightfoot Cox. Nancy Grace. Where do I know that name from? Oh, yeah, there's a news anchor with that name, Nancy Grace. Yeah, I had to get me some kind of transportation, man. I was stranded for a while. Uh, Finally, the parts came in for my motorcycle today, also. Well, yesterday. Uh, Last night, I guess it was after dark when they came in, so I hadn't got working on it yet, but they're here. And I had to sell one vehicle and buy another one. And I got a 2003 Trailblazer. I'm not much of a Chevy man, but it'll do in a pinch. And I got this. My sister gave me this lovely leather-bound case. Check that out. And inside, piece de la resistance is a leather-bound Holy Bible inscribed with my name on it. You see that? And it's extra large print so I can actually read it. I'm very, very happy about that. That was my Christmas gift there. And my brother-in-law bought me an awesome drill so I can screw my floor down when I get my floor going. Very, very grateful. I wasn't much fun this Christmas at all. Uh, I tried to get away with not even participating, but they drugged me into it. So she was an amazing woman, teacher and piano player, and genuine beautiful lady, mother and wife. And I can tell you that her name is in the book of life, and that's the best place that it can be. I know that doesn't offer a lot of comfort, but know that you are not alone and you have friends. And if you need to talk, you know my phone number. Call me anytime, day or night. It doesn't matter if that'll help. I'm here for you. Do believe that. If nothing else, we can co-commiserate because, like I said, it wasn't that long ago I experienced the same loss. And I remember that's my mama right behind me there, right there. She bore a striking resemblance to your mama. That's wonderful. Were you able to be with her when she passed? Yes, it will. It will be hard for you, but you can make it because you're strong. My mom and your mom both made you that way, so you can handle it. You know it's got to happen, so steel your heart and be prepared for it. The best thing you can do is give everything you can give right now while she's here. Because if you leave anything undone or unsaid, when it's too late, it's too late. She passed in her sleep while his dad was talking to her about past memories. That's wonderful. That's a great way to go. No, she was at home with my father and a lady from hospice. They were great to her. I'm sorry you didn't get to be there with her by her side. That's a memory. I was holding my mom's hand when she stopped breathing. Yeah, in the world of ways to go, that's, I think, the best way to go. Peacefully and in your sleep. You're never even aware of it happening. It was weird too because I knew it when it happened. I knew I could feel it as it was happening. Like I felt her life stop. She had been sleeping fine. She had a little trouble that that night getting to sleep, and I kind of think she had a stroke, but I really couldn't tell. And she went right to sleep after that, and she was just laying there for probably 4 hours sleeping, and then I just got this feeling, and I leaned over and dedicated her spirit to God, and she stopped breathing right then. That was quite the experience. I'm not sure I would have been able to handle it if I wasn't there. I don't know if it would have been as real. You know what I mean? You're strong, Jake. I don't know what I would have done. What kind of truck did you get? Well, I'm not that strong, and you would have done what was right. That's what I did, what was right. And the kind of truck that I got was a 2003 Trailblazer, Chevrolet Trailblazer. Ragged out, busted windshield. But for $500, you can't beat it. I had just enough to get it. Yeah, I wish you were here too. But it was a good deal. I knew what I was getting. He's not ripping me off. I knew it was a piece of junk, but it runs. It's just everything that's wrong with it's cosmetic. It's beat up a little bit. It's been ragged out, but the motor's in good shape and the wheels are good. So it was worth $500. And the next couple of weeks, I'll get her legal, and I'll have that underway. I have to do things in spells because I'm making very little income at this point in my life until this COVID thing is over. Uh, the money that I make is other people's party money. They go out and party and they pay me to entertain them. But if they don't go out and party, I don't get any money. So that's the reason I've been living on YouTube for the past year and a half, because there's nothing going on in the music scene. I mean, nothing. Every band in town is down. The only ones that are working, they're not working very much, and they're working very spaced out shows. So I don't know how they're even continuing. They're probably costing them more to do the shows than it is that they're making. But yeah, it was a good deal. It was a good truck, uh, and it solved a problem. So as I said before, the Lord provides, and He wasn't gonna let me go too long without something happening. So I was able to get the truck sold and the new truck bought all in the same day. I found it and went and got it, And when I got there was somebody looking at it. And the guy told me that there was already somebody coming to look at it before I went. Me and my sister rode and went anyway because I knew she wasn't going to get it. And when we got there, she was just leaving. So she didn't get it. So I got it. And I drove it home, so it runs fine. I had to do some engineering on it. I had to finagle a toggle switch to crank it up with, a little push button, because the key was broke. And I have to reach in and open the door from the inside because the outside door handle's broke on the driver's side and the windshield's busted. But everything else is in pretty good shape. But the real trick is finding a car that you can purchase moments after you sell a truck that didn't run for enough money to buy the truck that does run. See how that worked? So I was pretty fortunate to get that deal. And in a week or so, I'll have my bike back on the road. Now that I have all the parts to fix it with. And next week I'll be starting on the floor. I've got most of the yard work done, and I've got a lot of things cleaned up on the inside of the house, ready to start working. Where's your mama at? She's usually here by now. She's sleeping. I was kind of trying to wait for her to get here before we started with the Atheist. You sure? Maybe she'll pop in. Either way, we're getting it done. What did you guys get for Christmas? I sure wish we could have been together this year. I spoke to her earlier and she said she was tired because she overdid it this week. Yeah, I bet. Christmas is a hard job for anybody, even in good health. Oh, you got a beautiful white gold anklet. That's a bracelet, right? Infinity. Nice. And a bracelet to go with it. So you're chained all up then. That's lovely. What'd you get the old man? Oh, and perfume. That's nice. Lots of it. I really love my Bible. That was a beautiful gift to get. I've always wanted a leather bound one. You got polo green cologne and some cool clothes. Awesome. Sexy nighties and a robe. Wow. You guys outdid yourselves. Y'all gonna have all kinds of fun for New Year's, huh? Got me a Bible a few years ago. Aw. You know you found a keeper when he buys you a Bible. You don't want any kind of man that doesn't fear God, that's for sure. I bet he is a good gift giver. And the Bible says something about gift givers. You got her some naughty things, leave it at that. I got you. I was young once too, and married. And my last wife was an all-out hottie. I had lots of fun with her. A fossil purse? What's that? Maybe in years, but not in experience. Promise. You bought your Mustang that you wrecked for your birthday in 2016. You got a car too, huh? Cool. Oh. He bought the car you wrecked. I see. I got you. Well, you got to be careful, especially in expensive cars, because they'll wreck on you. You ain't careful. I'm sure you didn't. That's why they call it an accident. Nobody sets out to wreck a car unless they're a stuntman. I'm so tickled to have a car. You don't know how bad I don't like being stranded. I hate being stranded. Have to depend on somebody to get me somewhere. I don't like that at all. I ain't had a time without a car since I was probably 12 years old. Cited the other guy. You mean he hit you and they gave him the ticket? Or you hit him and they gave him the ticket? Yeah, there are. You got to be careful of them too, because they'll sure run out behind you to try to get a new car. Most of them are of the other color, if you know what I'm saying. The other variety, dark meat. Not to be insensitive, that's just the way it is. He was doing an illegal U-turn. You got to be careful. Quite frankly, and to be honest with you, I don't know how more girls don't get in wrecks to start with, as many of them as put makeup on while they're driving and talk on the phone and text and all that. It surprises me how few people die in car wrecks as much not paying attention as they do. I don't like to talk on the phone when I'm driving. I'll throw it over in the passenger seat. I've seen women put on full face makeup while driving. I don't know how they don't kill themselves. He didn't check on me once after walking around my car 4 times, and they had to take the jaws of life. Wow. To get his wife out of the back. Wow. You don't do any of that shit. That's good. I think we're fortunate to have grown up in a time when there was no such thing as a cell phone, so we kind of understand that you can live a life without one in your hand. These young people, though, they don't know. That's right. All right. Well, let's get on up there in time. So let's get started with this atheist. See what he's got to say today and how I can knock him out. Yeah, they are the devil. I believe that wholeheartedly. The worst thing I ever did was introduce them to my home. If I knew then what I know now, my kids would have never got a cell phone or a computer. But I thought I was doing the right thing by giving them what everybody else had and keeping them up to date and all that stuff. Trying to give them what I never had. It sure backfired on me. But everybody can't be happy. Come on, somebody, that's what I'm talking about. Woo! All right, here we go.
Genesis 35. This chapter ties up a lot of loose ends to stories we've been hearing. You won't be satisfied, but at least a lot of the main characters will be dead. Oh, and one of Jacob's sons is going to sleep with Jacob's mistress. Because this is the Bible. Then God...
As if they don't do that in the world today. Think lasciviousness only exists in the Bible? What's wrong with you, man?
said to Jacob, "Go up to Bethel and settle there, and build an altar there to God, who appeared to you when you were fleeing from your brother Esau." God said to Jacob, "Build an altar to me, I mean God." Unless he's referring to another God, which, as Christianity keeps reminding me, he is not doing.
He's not doing that because the person talking is not God. It's Gabriel, the archangel, that speaks for God. And if you've ever read the Bible, you'd know that. So, also, it's a book. It's telling a story. So you need to know who you're talking about. God being the protagonist of the story. That's how narratives work.
So Jacob said to his household and to all who were with him, "Get rid of the foreign gods you have with you, and purify yourselves, and change your clothes. Then come, let us go up to Bethel, where I will build an altar to God, who answered me in the day of my distress, and who has been with me wherever I have gone." So they gave Jacob all the foreign gods they had, and the rings in their ears, and Jacob buried them under the oak at Shechem.
Interestingly enough, the earring is a symbol of slavery. It's a symbol of ownership when you put a ring in your ear in those days among those people. They had another name in those days. Can't think of what it is right now, but when you put the hoop in the ear, that would signify that you were owned or that you were a member of a household. And what Jacob is doing here is making sure that his household is clean and not worshiping false gods. And also, he's freeing his people, which is an interesting thing that you should probably think about, since you like to point out all those bad things in the Bible.
Then they set out, and the terror of God fell on the towns all around them, so
Terror in the Bible means reverence, not fear.
that no one pursued them. There was another genocide at the end there. We're just glossing over it completely. What is that?
Where do you get genocide from terror? I just told you that terror means reverence, which meant everyone that knew God was coming through town was in reverence of him. There was no fighting. There was peace. They stayed away from that group.
Even mean the terror of God? Did he use sulfur? Evaporate everyone? Make them listen to another genealogy? Anyway.
Or maybe he just made them know he was God, and they were still.
Give me your foreign gods? I mean, I assume he means idols, but how are those threats to the real God? And what do...
Well, you will find out. Read my lips. Idolatry is bad. You're not supposed to worship false gods or no gods. You're supposed to be in reverence of the real God. as this book clearly states many times. You will soon learn why it's a threat, and you will understand that you are the threat, and you will be dealt with swiftly.
Earrings have to do with this. Somewhere in Shechem, buried under a tree, must be a pile of earrings and a bunch of pissed off mini-gods. I am amazed by how those other tribes need to be destroyed by the terror of God, but the foreign gods just have to be buried under a tree.
Again, those other tribes were not destroyed. There's no genocide going on here. They were in reverence of the true God. That's all.
Roots are too much of a match for those false deities. The true God isn't that powerful either. He can kill anyone he wants to. But I guess he can't see buried gods under an oak. Even without those idol gods, Jacob has to specify that his altar is meant for the God who answered him in his day of distress.
So that you would know who the one true God is. That's why the book was written, for you to know. The book was intended to be passed down. That's why it's a book. This isn't a movie. This is history.
And I guess not those other gods who just hang out in a club somewhere. How many gods are we choosing from here? Jacob and all the people with him came to Luz, that is Bethel, in the land of Canaan. There, he built an altar, and he called the place El Bethel, because it was there that God revealed himself to him when he was fleeing from his brother. So this is where he once dreamed of a ladder. El Bethel. He named the place the Bethel. Actually, El Bethel means God of Bethel.
Yes, it does. And you are making a mockery of it by making it Spanish instead of Greek. Or Hebrew or whatever language they're writing in.
Which, again, minimizes God. Like, he is the God of these 2 square feet right here.
No. That's not what he's saying. He's saying that's where he met God. God is the God of everything. Everything in existence. All the universe. Not just Bethel.
Now Deborah, Rebecca's nurse, died and was buried under the oak outside Bethel. So it was named Allen Backeth. Rebecca had a nurse?
Yes.
I mean, I thought they had God on their side, but okay. And it's...
What part of believing in God or worshiping God makes you think that you shouldn't also, learn medicine? God gave you a brain so that you could understand how to heal yourself. He doesn't just go around healing everybody. There was a period of time for that when Jesus was here, but this isn't a typical God thing. You heal yourself. You're in this world till you're not in it anymore. There are no shortcuts and there are no freebies. Even miracles had a purpose.
Kind of amazing that this woman is named, and we learn specifically about her death, yet we know literally nothing about her life. But at least she was buried under an oak tree. Everything good is buried under oak. Earrings, gods, random women we just met.
Or could it be because there's a lot of oak trees in that part of the world? And most people like to have peaceful burial sites? Seems like the traditional thing to do.
After Jacob returned from Padan Aram, God appeared to him again and blessed him. God said to him, "Your name is Jacob, but you will no longer be called Jacob. Your name will be Israel." So he named him Israel.
Israel, which means to wrestle with God.
I'm experiencing deja vu. Anyone else? Did God get amnesia because he has done this before? At least they didn't wrestle. The last time God said Jacob's new name is Israel, we forgot about it by the next sentence.
No, we didn't. You did.
What will happen this time around? And God said to him, "I am God Almighty. Be fruitful and increase in number. A nation and a community of nations will come from you, and kings will be among your descendants. The land I gave to Abraham and Isaac, I also give to you, and I will give this land to your descendants after you." Then God went up from him at the place where he had talked with him. It's the same story he told Abraham and Isaac. He's just repeating himself.
He's laying out the foundation of the nations that will come from these people. It's the same story because it's the same covenant. I don't understand why you have any trouble with this, because a promise is a promise no matter how many people are involved. Has it occurred to you that maybe Jacob didn't know about Abraham and his promise? So God told him, because they are related. They are in the same family.
And honestly, he's a little late. Do you know how many kids Jacob has already? He is all descendanted out. And
not even close. You're wrong again.
God went up from him? How? Did he fly? Did he use a ladder? Jacob set up a stone pillar at the place where God had talked with him, and he poured out a drink offering on it. He also poured oil on it. Jacob called the place where God had talked with him Bethel. At this point, I'm pretty sure we are surrounded by altars. That is all these people do. No internet, no Starbucks, just building altars to God. Why?
Because they love their father. Maybe you should try it.
Why are we renaming this place Bethel? We did that already in chapter 28. Who unnamed it? And look at that. Even the Bible is calling him Jacob again. No one wants to call this guy Israel. By the way, spoiler, God's gonna call him Jacob again in chapter 46.
Because that's his name. The name that he's given Israel is a title. He's still Jacob. He's also Israel. And also, if the book just started calling him Israel, readers would get confused. This is a way that you understand who he's talking about when he's talking about him, because Israel doesn't just mean Jacob. That whole nation will eventually be called Israel. You understand? They're nomadic people. They move around, and then they will find a place, and then that place will be called Israel, as it is today. So not only was the man named Israel, but the people were named Israel, and the place where they settle is named Israel. So to call him Jacob is like pointing to the exact person he's talking about. Follow along if you can.
Then they moved on from Bethel. While they were still some distance from Ephrath, Rachel began to give birth and had great difficulty. And as she was having great difficulty in childbirth, the midwife said to her, "Don't despair, for you have another son." As she breathed her last, for she was dying, she named her son Ben-Oni. But his father named him Benjamin. Another kid, Rachel? Another one? The competition is over. Her dying wish was to name her son Ben-Oni, and Jacob was like, nah. How come when Jacob renames the son Benjamin, it sticks, but when God renames Jacob, it fails miserably?
Your understanding is so thin that I'm surprised you've made it this far in the world. None of this is hard to understand. She died. He's alive. He named his son Benjamin. If you understand the meaning of the word Benjamin, and also understand the meaning of the word Benoni, then you would understand why he changed the name.
What sort of advice was that from the midwife? I know you're struggling with these labor pains, but relax. It's a boy. It's worth it.
And why do you have so much issue with people having children? It seems like you don't like it. Why is that? Didn't the Bible say that he would give this man a nation? You have to have kids for that to happen.
If it was a girl, screw it, but I see a future circumcision, so push harder. So Rachel died and was buried on the way to Ephrath, that is, Bethlehem. Over her tomb, Jacob set up a pillar, and to this day that pillar marks Rachel's tomb. A
And to this day, you can go find it because it's there. Still to this day, they've got a little church built over top of it, but it's there. I've actually seen it.
Another pillar!
In pictures, I wasn't there.
I'm surprised there's even room for another one at this point. And to this day, it's still there. Really?
Yes.
Pretty sure that one did not age well.
Guess what? You're wrong. Why don't you do some research before you open your mouth?
Israel moved on again and pitched his tent beyond Migdal Eder. While Israel was living in that region, Reuben went in and slept with his father's concubine Bilhah, and Israel heard of it. Jacob had 12 sons. Wait. Now we're calling him Israel? Must be a new author. And also, ew!
Why must it be a new author? Because they're calling him by the name God gave him? The one that you said that we wouldn't call him by? Could it be that you're wrong and the Bible's right? I don't guess you've considered that, huh?
Jacob's son is sleeping with Jacob's concubine? Of all the things...
What do you think a concubine does? What do you think that word means? Just out of curiosity. We use a word today called prostitute or whore. Means the same thing. It's not that unusual. It being his father's concubine could be viewed in those days as if I were to go out and get in my dad's truck and drive it. It's my truck too. Could be viewed that way. I don't know that it was, but it's not that unusual.
Passed down from father to son. A slave mistress is not supposed to be one of them.
Who said?
And what is Jacob's...
Who told you that? Do you understand how inheritance works? Because if you do, then you're incorrect in your logic. And if you don't understand, you shouldn't be talking about it.
Or should I say Israel's reaction to that? I don't know. I'm asking you because we never find out. You know, Reuben is not married to Bilhah, so you could say sleeping with her is a cardinal sin. In fact, in the last chapter, Simeon and Levi murdered everyone in their city because their sister had been defiled before marriage.
What do you think constitutes a marriage in those days? You think they went down to the courthouse and pulled out some paperwork, got a seal of approval by the judge or the magistrate? Or do you think they slept together and lived in the same household under God? That's what marriage is.
So what are they going to do to Reuben or their new city? Anything? Nope. We are just getting a rundown of all the kids in this family. The sons of Leah: Reuben, the firstborn of Jacob; Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun. The sons of Rachel: Joseph.
The two important children in that are Levi and Judah. Those are the two that the bloodline of Jesus Christ will come from. That's the tribe of the Jews and the tribe of the Levites, which are the priest's line. They're the ones that were given the authority to bear the Ark of the Covenant.
And Benjamin, the sons of Rachel's servant Bilhah; Dan and Naphtali, the sons of Leah's servant Zilpah; Gad and Asher. These were the sons of Jacob, who were born to him in Padan Aram. Final score, Leah wins with 6 boys. But remember, she also gave birth to a daughter, Dinah, who just had an entire chapter about her, but even now she doesn't get name-checked by the Bible people. Jacob came home to his father Isaac in Mamre, near Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron, where Abraham and Isaac had stayed.
The reason that Dinah isn't mentioned again is most likely because she didn't have children, or her children weren't of note for this story. You understand? The Bible is following a bloodline to Jesus Christ. That would be the entirety of the Old Testament, from the beginning to Jesus. It's one family, and that bloodline that goes to him. There's lots of other people involved. They don't get mentioned, male and female. You only seem to point out the female ones, but there's lots of males that don't get mentioned also. There's lots of people having children at this time. You're only hearing about the children of one bloodline because that's what this book is about.
Isaac lived 180 years. Then he breathed his last and died, and was gathered to his people, old and full of years. And his sons Esau and Jacob buried him. Is anyone still surprised Isaac is still alive? Genesis 27 opened up with the words, "When Isaac was old and his eyes were so weak." He was old then, but he's still around now.
Yep.
So what are the big takeaways here? We finally narrowed down the number of gods we care about. God can't see underneath trees. He'll just randomly genocide cities if it'll protect.
Do you think that they buried those things because they didn't want God to see them, or because they wanted to get rid of them? What makes you think God can't see them there? Didn't know that they buried them there? It's such a juvenile mind.
Protect his chosen people. Jacob gets renamed Israel, again, and Leah is the champion when it comes to baby making. I know it seems like everything is coming to an end, but Genesis is far from over.
Well, it's far from over, that's a fact. Out of all of the things that are in the Bible to take issue with, it
Genesis
astounds
36. I know what you're thinking.
It astounds me that you take issue with the things you take issue with. It's like the only thing you care about is modern day social justice warrior points. There's a lot going on here besides what you're pointing out.
You need more genealogy. Don't worry, I got you covered.
The name of the book is Genesis, which means the beginning of the gene.
So sorry. But after spending a few chapters with Jacob and his 4 wives and caravan of kids, it's time to learn about what Esau's been up to for the past couple of decades. We won't get any interesting stories though, just a list. Because when you're a hairy, ape-like ginger, the world doesn't care for you. This is the account of the family.
It's kind of still that way. I mean, have you seen the Irish? And I'm one of them. And I'm telling you, red bones don't get a lot of love in this world. Never have.
Line of Esau, that is, Edom. Esau took his wives from the women of Canaan, Adah, daughter of Elon the Hittite, and Aholibamah, daughter of Anah, and granddaughter of Zibeon the Hivite. Also, Bashemath, daughter of Ishmael, and sister of Nebaioth. Esau has 2 names. Do you think he needed to wrestle with God to get the second one, like his brother? Also, Esau's wives include a Hittite and a Hivite. That's like multiracial polygamy. That's like fundamentalism and liberalism.
Careful. You're about to expose why God doesn't favor Esau so much. You understand? There's a reason that God hated Esau and loved Jacob. There's a reason that even back before they were even grown, God decided, even in the womb, he decided that he loved Jacob and hated Esau because he knew his character. And Esau doesn't disappoint. He does a lot of things that are against the way the traditions go. He sells his birthright. He doesn't even care about his own heritage. He mixes breeds, interbreeds with different races, different cultures, different people. He takes wives that have strange gods. He's a ginger. There's a lot of reasons God didn't like him so much. and you're telling in a way that seems like you don't understand what you're saying the things that God didn't like about it. So maybe you should listen to yourself and come to a conclusion and reach the end of this thought process, and then you will find some understanding there. Maybe even some wisdom.
All in one. Very impressive. That section just said Bashemeth is the daughter of Ishmael. But in chapter 26, it said Bashemeth was the daughter of Elon the Hittite. And this passage now says Ada is the daughter of Elon the Hittite.
For the 5,000th time in the series, they don't have a word that we have for grandfather or great-great-grandfather. They call them the son of, or the daughter of, the house of. Doesn't matter how many generations down, she is both the daughter of Ishmael and the other guy, and the other one, because that's how families work. Ishmael, interestingly enough, is the brother of Isaac, where you get the two religions, Isaac being the religion of Christianity and Ishmael being the religion of Muslims. You see? I don't think you do, but try.
Which is it? And how do I send a condolence card to whoever has to draw up this family tree? Ada bore Eliphaz to Esau.
You can find this family tree on the internet with a simple Google search. They're all over the place, and many people have toiled many hours to put these family trees together so that you can clearly see how the families are built. So if you're interested, go look it up. It's out there.
Bashemeth bore Ruel, and Aholibamah bore Jush, Jalem, and Korah. These were the sons of Esau, who were born to him in Canaan. For those keeping track, that's 5 sons, 3 baby mamas, and 0 condoms. Anywhere. Ever. Esau
You can't be fruitful and multiply with a condom.
took his wives and sons and daughters and all the members of his household, as well as his livestock and all his other animals, and all the goods he had acquired in Canaan, and moved to a land some distance from his brother Jacob. Their possessions were too great for them to remain together. The land where they were staying could not support them both because of their livestock. So Esau, that is Edom, settled in the hill country of Seir. He had so many wives and kids and animals.
And just so you know, the word Edom and the word Esau is the same word in 2 different languages. Some people have trouble with the tongue, like Chinese people have trouble saying R's and L's. Mexican people have trouble saying certain syllables. It's the same thing in this area, only a little different because it's 2 different types of languages from 2 different groups of language origins. So a lot of times, for example, the name Joseph in one language is Imhotep in another language. Imhotep doesn't sound very much like Joseph, does it? But it's the same word. It's just 2 different languages. Edom and Esau is the same word in 2 different languages. It's not that God gave him a second name. It's not like Israel and Jacob, where they're the same person with 2 different names. This is the same name from 2 different languages.
That he had to move away from his estranged brother so he could have space. Joke's on him though. With all those people in his family, he is never getting any alone time. Did that just say Esau took his wives and sons and daughters? Daughters? When did he get daughters? Did they just pop up like Eve? This is the account.
Well, you see, when a man loves a woman very much, they make love. And when they do, the woman gets pregnant. And then they have a child. I'm surprised that I have to explain the birds and the bees to you, but you understand that this isn't a day-by-day linear story. They're jumping spans of time in between these stories. And when these people are having children, they're having lots of children. These people were heavy breeders. You remember when you started this story, God's commandment to them was to be fruitful and multiply. He said that in the beginning also. He blessed them and made them fertile, and they had lots of babies, boys and girls.
Of the family line of Esau, the father of the Edomites in the hill country of Seir. These are the names of Esau's sons: Eliphaz, the son of Esau's wife Adah, and Ruel, the son of Esau's wife Basemath. The sons of Eliphaz: Teman, Omar, Zepho, Getham, and Kenaz. Esau's son Eliphaz also had a concubine named Timnah, who bore him Amalek. These were grandsons of Esau's wife Adah. How does a concubine get added to a family tree? Speaking of which,
the man in the family has sex with her and she has a baby with his genes, which would add her to his family tree. You understand how that works? When a man has sex with a woman, the thing that comes from her is his seed, his offspring, which would make it part of his family tree. You can't get from one to the other without going through the female, so she also becomes part of the family tree. Amazing.
In 1 Chronicles chapter 1, Timnah is listed as the male son of Eliphaz, not a random female concubine. That's not even close. Unless Eliphaz named a son after his concubine, which would be even stranger.
Why would that be strange? I bet you were named after somebody. I was.
Anyway, that is a lot of names to keep track of. But we are not done yet, because that was the family line of just one kid. Esau had 4 more. The sons of Ruel: Nahath, Zerah, Shammah, and Mizah. These were grandsons of Esau's wife Basemath. The sons of Esau's wife Aholibamah, daughter of Anah and granddaughter of Zibeon, whom she bore to Esau: Jush, Jalem, and Korah. Remember that final name, Korah, son of Esau. Remember that, because the Bible won't in just a second. You know, just based on sheer numbers, a lot of these kids must be like Eric Trump. They have to be included if you list the family members, but it doesn't seem like they're contributing anything. They're just there. But just for the
kind of like you are. I'm just saying.
hell of it, here are like 47 more names. These were the chiefs among Esau's descendants. The sons of Eliphaz, the firstborn of Esau: chiefs Teman, Omar, Zepho, Kenaz, Korah, Getham, and Amalek. These were the chiefs descended from Eliphaz in Edom. They were grandsons of Adah. The sons of Esau's son Ruel: chiefs Nahath, Zerah, Shammah, and Mizah. These were the chiefs descended from Ruel in Edom. They were grandsons of Esau's wife Basemath. The sons of Esau's wife Aholibamah: chiefs Jush, Jalem, and Korah. These were the chiefs descended from Esau's wife Aholibamah, daughter of Anah. This must be what they study in advanced placement Sunday school. How did Korah go from being Esau's child to the son of Eliphaz? I am so confused. I need paper and a marker and maybe scissors to keep track of these people. These were the sons of Esau, that is, Edom, and these were their chiefs. You know you're dying to see what this family tree looks like.
To answer your question, there was more than one person with that name. It's very simple. Both Edom or Esau and Eliphaz both had a child with the same name. Kind of like the name John.
Me too. Here's one I found online. The moral
Imagine
of the
that.
story: if you ever have children, have one and call it a day.
So I'm guessing you know where to send that condolence card, right? Since you found the family tree you were talking about.
You will thank me later. These were the sons of Seir the horse.
No one would ever thank you for destroying a chance at a family. You should probably teach something different, because what you're doing is discouraging people from procreating, which is the main reason we're here in the flesh.
Horite, who were living in the
Actually, it's the second main reason we're here, but you get my point.
region. Lotan, Shobal, Zibeon, Anna, Dishon, Azer, and Dishon. These sons of Seir in Edom were Horite chiefs. I don't know if you caught this, but earlier in this chapter it said Anna was the child of Zibeon. And now it's saying Anna is the brother of Zibeon. And in just a moment, Anna will go back to being the son of Zibeon. Someone was not paying attention at the Bible meetings. And who names their kid Dishon and Dishon? What game are you playing?
It's called another language, and those names are probably very common in those languages. And their parents would give them that name.
Speaking of games, here are another 100 names. The sons of Lotan, Hori and Homa. Timnah was Lotan's sister. The sons of Shobal, Alvin, Manahath, Abel, Shepho, and Onam. The sons of Zibeon, Ajah and Anna. This is the Anna who discovered the hot springs in the desert while he was grazing the donkeys of his father Zibeon.
Notice how that sentence specified that this is the Anna that did this thing, meaning not the other Anna, which was the previous question that you asked. How could there be an Anna who was one thing and then an Anna who was another thing? Because there were two of them. Do you not understand how naming children work?
The children of Anna, Dishon and Aholibamah, daughter of Anna. The sons of Dishon, Hemdan, Eshban, Ithran, and Kiran. The sons of Azer, Bilhan, Zeavan, and Akan. The sons of Dishon, Uz, and Aran. Someone in there discovered hot springs in the desert, which has to be the worst thing you can find in the desert. I swear that also said the child of Anna was Aholibamah, the daughter of Anna. That sentence was from the Department of Redundancy Department. These were the...
No, that sentence was from the Department of There's More Than One Anna. Twit.
Horite chiefs, Lotan, Shobal, Zibeon, Anna, Dishon, Azer, and Dishon. These were the Horite chiefs according to their divisions in the land of Seir.
Anna must have been like the name Amy, very popular.
Dishon and Dishon went into the same line of work. Not helping, guys. These were the kings who reigned in Edom before any Israelite king reigned. Jesus Christ! Just another list of names.
No, not Jesus Christ. These are the sons of Esau, who were kings before the Israelites came in to be kings, who took over for the stead of Esau. That's where Jesus Christ comes from. So you got it backwards.
This is like reading a dictionary at this point.
Yes, it is. And it's very boring. But it's necessary so that you understand the bloodlines, because it's important to know who came from, so that you can understand where they end up.
All right, hit me. Let's go. Bela, son of Beor, became king of Edom. His city was named Dinhabah. Easy enough. All hail King Bela. When Bela died, Jobab, son of Zerah from Bozrah, succeeded him as king. Well, that was quick. Okay, all hail King Jobab.
That was an entire lifespan. It just said it in a sentence. Wasn't quick at all. He probably reigned for a long time before Jobab came in.
Jobab died, Husham from the land of the Temanites succeeded him as king. All right, all hail King Husham. When Husham died, Hadad, son of Bedad, who defeated Midian in the country of Moab, succeeded him as king.
Also, you have to understand that these people were warring a lot in those days, which meant that they didn't live very long. So it could be that also.
His city was named Aviv. Oh my God, stop padding the Bible. These are not the details I need. Can we just, speed this up? When Hadad died, Samlah from Masrekah succeeded him as king. When Samlah died, Saul from Rehoboth on the river succeeded him as king. When Saul died, Baal-Hanan, son of Achbor, succeeded him as king. When Baal-Hanan, son of Achbor, died, Hadad succeeded him as king. His city was named Peiu, and his wife's name was Mehetabel, daughter of Mothred, the daughter of Mesahab. Why isn't this whole chapter a footnote or in an appendix somewhere?
Because if it were, you would never understand it. That's why it was included, so that you would understand it.
At least tell me how these people became king. Was there a battle?
They were in the bloodline of kings. That's how they became king. God appointed the kings. Said so back in the first parts there when you were reading, when it said, these people God appointed to be kings. Well, these are those people. And they're coronated in the line of succession, which means that when one dies, the next in line becomes king. This is how kingship works. It's not very hard to understand. It's just like inheritance, only you inherit a kingdom and a ruling.
For succession, an election, a duel. It's not being passed down to the eldest male child, so something else is going down, right?
Yes.
These were the chiefs descended from...
That something else would be, this is the way that this family works. It's the next in line in this family. It's succession. Sure enough, it's not always goes to the eldest son, though. This was a practice that happened later on in the king lines. But before that, it was the patriarch of the family that would become king, or the head of the family, or the chieftain of the tribe, or however you want to look at it, would become king if he was next in line.
Esau by name, according to their clans and regions. Timnah, Alvah, Japheth, Aholabama, Elah, Penon, Kenaz, Taman, Mibzar, Magdiel, and Iram. These were the chiefs of Edom, according to their settlements in the land they occupied. This is the family line of Esau, the father of the Edomites. There you have it, the biblical cinematic universe. There are enough characters to last centuries. You know, This was kind of amusing when we started with Adam, but now it's just ridiculous. If there's no family drama involved, I don't need to know about it. Why did I even begin this series? Here is the only interesting thing about the Edomites. Later in the Bible, they are all going to die, possibly at the hand of David and Goliath. Honestly, after making me read this chapter, I'm fine with that. Have you ever gone to a party and been introduced to about 100 people and forgot their names instantly? No reason, just asking. I never thought I'd say this, but I am looking forward to the next chapter of the Bible.
Well, you must understand the past in order to understand the present.
Genesis 37.
The reason all these people were listed out is so that you would understand the lineage of the timeline. You see, a lot of years pass. That was a lot of years and a lot of different rulers. And yes, a lot of them are going to die. That doesn't decrease their significance in the story, because all people die. Why you're acting like it's a surprise is beyond me. All people die. Nobody gets out of here alive. They get taken out by a specific person or people because of the way they lived, because of the choices they made, because of the enemies they incurred. No other reason.
It is finally time for the source material for your 8th favorite musical and the bane of high school theater kids everywhere, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. Remember how we spent several chapters talking about Jacob and his wives and his other wives and his babies, and then we spent literally one chapter catching up on Esau's unmemorable descendants? Even the Bible people are bored with Esau because we are going right back to Jacob's life. Jacob lived in the land where his father had stayed, the land of Canaan. This is the account of Jacob's family line. Joseph, a young man of 17, was tending the flocks with his brothers, the sons of Bilhah and the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives, and he brought their father a bad report about them. Remember when Jacob's name was changed to Israel? Well, the Bible's writers have already forgotten. They've also forgotten that Bilhah and Zilpah are slaves, because we're now calling them wives. I mean,
there's not a lot of difference.
That's a good change. They deserve it. But I don't get why it's happening now. And I honestly had no idea our first introduction to Joseph would be that he's a tattletale. He was doing work with his brothers and then complained to Daddy about them. You're 17! Just take care of the issue yourself and stop whining about it.
These people lived a lot longer than we did, so 17 doesn't necessarily mean he was an adult.
What are they doing that Joseph found so disturbing? We're not told. Leave your best guess in the comments. Now, Israel loved Joseph more than...
I got one for you. How about they weren't doing what they were told?
Any of his other sons, because he had been born to him in his old age, and he made an ornate robe for him. When his brothers saw that their father loved him more than any of them, they hated him and could not speak a kind word to him. Oh my God, Jacob, Israel, pick a name and stick to it. Was Joseph really born in Israel's old age? He was born when Israel was still working for Laban and before he did his weird bad science experiments. He wasn't that old. Joseph isn't even his youngest kid. In Genesis 35, Israel had another son named Benjamin. Remember? The Bible doesn't.
Yes, it does.
As a parent, why the hell would you give a special present to one kid and not the rest?
Because he loved him. And it was the thing to do at the time. Maybe he didn't have access to that material beforehand. Maybe this is not a linear story. Ever thought about that?
I have 2 kids, and I know that's a dumb thing to do. Israel has 13 kids, and he's giving the least subtle gift imaginable to one of the youngest. He's just asking for trouble. You know, sibling rivalry usually happens when kids fight over their parents' love, when the truth is parents love their kids equally. But here,
You are a flatline cur dog. That's not true. Parents attempt to love their children equally. Parents try very hard and struggle with the shame of not always loving their children equally. But as you well know, you have a favorite. You just wouldn't admit it for nothing. If you're going to be honest, be honest. Don't sit there and be pious in my face, buddy. I have 2 children, and I can tell you that one is my favorite and the other one loves me the most. So it's a weird dichotomy, but we get through it.
Actually makes sense because the Bible straight up tells us Israel loved one kid more than the rest. Joseph had a dream, and when he told it to his brothers, they hated him all the more. He said to them, "Listen to this dream I had. We were binding sheaves of grain out in the field, when suddenly my sheaf rose and stood upright, while your sheaves gathered around mine and bowed down to it." Listen, If I had a dream in which all of you watching this had to bow down to me, one, I would not tell you about it, and two, I would recognize that it's just a dream and not reality. Why?
Well, number one, you've already established that you're not very honest, so we don't expect any less of you. And two, you're not having prophetic dreams from God. He was, which means it wasn't a normal dream.
Why would you tell the siblings who hate you about a dream in which you sort of rule over them? Actually, this appears to be the first biblical dream that doesn't include God and is totally metaphorical. If nothing else, at least these are more normal kind of dreams. That said, a sheaf of grain rising.
Well, if you get ahead in the story a little ways, you're going to find out that he ends up ruling over them and then bowing to him. So it's not very metaphorical at all. It's more like telling the future.
Doesn't mean it's the best. Maybe it was just in the right spot. Let's not treat this as a parable. Sometimes a sheaf of grain is just a sheaf of grain. His brothers said to him, "Do you intend to reign over us? Will you actually rule us?" And they hated him all the more because of his dream and what he had said. Don't hate him for his dream, you guys. Hate him because he's an arrogant prick of a teenager. Then he had another dream, and he told it to his...
Kind of reminds me of somebody else I know. Somebody that thinks he knows way more than he actually does.
His brothers. "Listen," he said, "I had another dream. And this time the sun and moon and 11 stars were bowing down to me." Oh, they are so gonna beat him up after this. Can someone explain to me how the sun can bow down to anyone? It's a sphere. That's not how shapes work.
Seen it, have you? With your own eyes, up close. It's round. That's all you know. Round does not necessarily mean sphere. I'm just saying.
Also, you would probably be dead. 11 stars is such a weirdly specific number, because there are way more stars than that.
Well, as established earlier in the Bible, stars are metaphors for angels. And the sun is not a star.
What are the rest of them doing? Actually, that is probably symbolic. We're talking about his father, his mother, and his siblings. But that doesn't quite work either, because his mother died a few chapters ago, so the moon doesn't really belong in this dream. And also, he has 12 siblings, not 11. He has a sister, Dinah, too. No one gives a damn about Dinah. When he told his father, as well as...
But he does have 11 brothers who would be the leaders of their family. And the sun is masculine, meaning his father, and the moon is feminine, meaning his mother, or his father's wife, or his wife, or his sister. Could it be?
His brothers, his father rebuked him and said, "What is this dream you had? Will your mother and I and your brothers actually come and bow down to the ground before you?" His brothers were jealous of him, but his father kept the matter in mind. Even his father is like, "Who gives a damn about your dreams? Relax, son." But then even he apparently takes it kind of seriously. Now his brothers had gone to graze their father's flocks near...
Well, you see, his father is wise and knows who God is, and knows that God made a promise and that God will fulfill that promise. So of course he takes him seriously.
Shechem. And Israel said to Joseph, "As you know, your brothers are grazing the flocks near Shechem. Come, I am going to send you to them." "Very well," he replied. So he said to him, Go and see if all is well with your brothers and with the flocks, and bring word back to me." Then he sent him off from the valley of Hebron. When Joseph arrived at Shechem, a man found him wandering around in the fields and asked him, "What are you looking for?" "This seems like bad parenting. I know your brothers are furious with you because you're a cocky little punk, but I need you to visit them and see if they actually hate you." I like the idea that Joseph visits an entire city randomly without knowing where to go. He has no idea how to plan a trip.
Well, you see, in those days, things were built along trade routes. So if you were going somewhere in that direction, you would come to the nearest city that is on that route. There would not be cities dispersed out all amongst the land. They would be en route. You see, that's the original reason for routes. It's that we spread out so much further that all the other roads were put in. But originally, a road would go to a city, and to another city, and to another city. So it would be in line with his travel. He knew which direction they went. He's a couple of days behind them. He will eventually get up to where they are. And the people that he comes to would have seen them come through. That's not very hard to understand.
He replied, "I'm looking for my brothers. Can you tell me where they are grazing their flocks?" "They have moved on from here," the man answered. "I heard them say, 'Let's go to Dothan.'" So Joseph went after his brothers and found them near Dothan. But they saw him in the distance, and before he reached them, they plotted to kill him. So Joseph visited a new city, met a stranger there, and said, "I'm looking for my brothers." And the stranger knew exactly who he was talking about?
Yes, because they just came through there a day or so ago, and he recognized that the boy was talking about the 11 brothers that just went through that city the day before. Why is that hard to understand? He's a stranger to Joseph, but he saw the children go through there, and when Joseph inquired about the same number of men with a flock, he remembered seeing them go through and overheard them talking. So
how? Also, who the hell is this stranger who knows everything about everyone? I want more details on his life. He seems way more interesting than the rest of these people.
as usual, you got your nose in the wrong direction. Focus on the story being told, not the one you wish was being told.
Check out the brothers' reaction too. They didn't like Joseph, but then they saw Joseph approaching them, and they suddenly decided, "Let's murder him." And over what? A couple of weird dreams? One last thing about biblical.
Those weird dreams signify that they will be subjugated to him. So they're probably jealous, and they're probably terrified, because they also know who God is, and that God made a promise, and that through their father's genes, he would fulfill that promise. And if it's not going to be them, and it's going to be him, you see, there's means, motive, and opportunity right there.
Geography here. Going from Hebron to Shechem is about a 50-mile journey. Going from Shechem to Dothan is roughly 13 miles. And Joseph is walking. I mean, these are very long trips. "Here comes that dreamer," they said to each other. "Come now, let's kill him and throw him into one of these cisterns and say that a ferocious animal devoured him. Then we'll see what comes of his dreams." A cistern is a water tank. You're welcome. And what
I already knew that. You're welcome.
sort of accusation is this? Let's kill Joseph because he's a dreamer. Do those brothers never dream? That's like saying, there's Joseph. He sleeps at night, therefore he must die. Dreaming isn't the problem here. It's what people do with their dreams. And Joseph hasn't even acted on them yet. So, maybe calm down with the murder fantasies. Which brother came up with the idea? I mean, someone had to suggest it first. You know that's gonna lead to some very awkward Thanksgiving dinners in the future. It was probably Simeon or Levi, since they committed genocide a few chapters ago after all those men got circumcised. When Reuben heard this, he tried to rescue him from their hands. "Let's not take his life," he said. "Don't shed any blood. Throw him into this cistern here in the wilderness, but don't lay a hand on him." Reuben said this to rescue him from them and take him back to his father.
Reuben was a good person.
Well, that's nice of Reuben. He's the one brother who thinks murdering Joseph is going too far. Reuben, the nice guy, just wants to throw Joseph in the water tank until no one's looking and he can save Joseph and take him home and be the hero. Look at him trying to become his father's favorite son. So when Joseph came to his brother,
Leave it to you to find a motive that isn't genuine.
they stripped him of his robe, the ornate robe he was wearing, and they took him and threw him into the cistern. The cistern was empty. There was no water in it. If you had an ornate robe, why would you wear it when you're visiting your brothers who are working in the field? If you're going for a nice
Because that's what you had on when you left.
job, you don't wear a tuxedo. I guess Joseph is lucky though. They threw him in a water pit that just so happened to be empty. So, that worked out. What was he wearing under the robe? Anything? Nothing?
Well, it's a robe, so probably not.
As they sat down to eat their meal, they looked up and saw a caravan of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead. Their camels were loaded with spices, balm, and myrrh, and they were on their way to take them down to Egypt. Forget the Ishmaelites for a second. These guys just threw their brother in a water tank, left him for dead, and then thought, "We're hungry, let's have lunch." Judah said to his brothers, "What will we gain if we kill our brother and cover up his blood? Come, let's sell him to the Ishmaelites and not lay our hands on him. After all, he is our brother, our own flesh and blood." His brothers agreed. "You guys, we shouldn't kill our brother. He's family. Let's just sell him into slavery and make some cash." All these brothers are so easy to influence. One guy says something and the rest just go along with it right away.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how the devil works in people, isn't it? How easy they can be twisted and brainwashed into thinking things like atheism. How cynical one can become because life doesn't work quite the way they think it should, or because they don't quite understand the meaning of God. I'd be thinking about that if I were you.
They're selling him to strangers because he had a couple of dreams they didn't like and he's kind of annoying. Complete overreaction. So when the Midianite merchants came by, his brothers pulled Joseph up out of the cistern and sold him for 20 shekels of silver to the Ishmaelites, who took him to Egypt.
That's 10 less than Jesus was paid for.
If you're like me, you're wondering if 20 shekels of silver is a good deal. It's hard to make sense of the biblical economy, but in the book of Exodus, right after this, there is a passage that says if a slave is killed by a bull, a literal bull, you owe the slave's master 30 shekels of silver. So it sounds like this is a pretty bad deal. And of course, Judas sold out Jesus for 30 pieces of silver too. But these brothers will sell Joseph for 20. And if they split that cash between them, they each get about 2 shekels. Whatever a shekel is, that's not worth it. When Reuben returned to the cistern and saw that Joseph was not there, he tore his clothes. He went back to his brothers and said, "The boy isn't there. Where can I turn now?" He tore his clothes.
Yes, renting your clothing is a sign of mourning. There's a tradition in that area. It's to rent your clothing. It's a sign of distress.
Like the Hulk? What's the point of that? I've never been so angry that I ripped my shirt. How come
You've never been Hebrew.
Reuben wasn't part of the trade deal a second ago? Why did the brothers not let Reuben in on their plan?
Could it be because Reuben was trying to save his brother and was not in agreement with his other brothers? Could it be that?
They know he was a traitor? Then they got Joseph's robe, slaughtered a goat, and dipped the robe in the blood. They took the ornate robe back to their father and said, "We found this. Examine it to see whether it's your son's robe." How many people are wearing Technicolor robes in this town that there's any doubt here? I guess selling your sibling isn't bad enough. Now they're gonna lie to their daddy about it. He recognized it and said, "It is my son's robe. Some ferocious animal has devoured him. Joseph has surely been torn to pieces." Really?
Really? That was a common occurrence in those days, being that they lived with all manner of toothed animal, including the dinosaurs.
The first guess? Not, "He must have run away and taken off the extra weight," or, "Oh no, somebody stabbed him, but the goat tore up his skin." He's not even gonna investigate? I mean, if this happened today, it would at least turn into a season of a true crime podcast. I can't believe lying worked.
I'm not going to dignify that with a response, because you're an idiot.
I learned so many moral lessons from the Bible. There is some real irony in this whole story right here. Remember that Jacob tricked his father into blessing him through an act of deception by dressing up like Esau. And now Jacob's kids are tricking him through their own act of deception. Karma. Fake history doesn't repeat itself, but it does rhyme. Then Jacob tore his clothes, put on sackcloth, and mourned for his son many days. All his sons and daughters came to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. "No," he said, "I will continue to mourn until I join my son in the grave." So his father wept for him.
And if you lost one of your kids, I imagine you'd feel the same way. No parent should ever have to witness their child's death. That's too much. If you can't sympathize with him here, you have a cold, black, dead, lifeless, godless heart.
Again with the Hulk-like clothes ripping? Really? And look at these brothers trying to comfort their father when they know Joseph is alive.
Kind of like a thief that'll help you look for the thing they stole. Yeah. It's amazing what sinners will do.
The whole family is so messed up. Also, that just said all his sons and daughters came to comfort him. But as far as we know, there's just one daughter, Dinah. The Bible writers care so little about Dinah that in this chapter alone, they've said there are 0 daughters and there are daughters plural.
Well, you're wrong on both counts, because the Bible said that that was a daughter. That's what the moon was in reference to in that dream. You can't obviously count, so clearly you didn't catch the meaning. But again, there's also granddaughters and great-granddaughters. This man is quite aged, so he would have several generations under his belt. So yeah, he'd have a quite large family to come console him, including his daughter Dinah, the moon.
Neither is correct. There's one. How hard is it to remember one of the only biblical women with a name? Meanwhile, the Midianites sold Joseph.
Rebecca, Ruth, Mary, the other Mary. There's lots of females in the Bible. She's not the only one with a name.
In Egypt to Potiphar, one of Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guard. For how much? Did they get a good deal? That's all that matters here. I swear if the next chapter is a pseudo-genealogy listing everyone who bought and sold Joseph, I am ending this series immediately.
Well, you can't do that, because then I'd have to find somebody else to argue with, and that would suck. Please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share. Press that like button like it owes you money. It owes me money. Share this video with somebody you love, and leave a comment down below. Let me know what you're thinking about. Also, follow the links in the description below. But if you like my ministry and you see the help that I'm providing, and you'd like to keep me doing so, go to paypal.me/JakeJohnsonBand. Every little bit helps, and I appreciate everything you do. And I will work hard for it. And with that, I will take your
Genesis
questions. Wrong button. Sorry. Take your questions and comments. All right. What'd you guys think about that? Any questions? this guy seems to be having trouble following simple story arcs. He talks about a dream that includes 11 stars, a sun, and a moon, and can't connect the dots that he has 11 brothers and one sister and a father. I don't know what to do with that. Guy sends his beloved son off on a journey to find his brothers, and his brothers come back without him and lie to him and tell him that he's been killed, and he believes them, and he doesn't seem to see how that works. I appreciate you too, April. Thank you. You guys mean the world to me, and I enjoy my job, and I will do it graciously. The Hulk comment was funny. Yeah, I don't know why he doesn't understand that those people, when they mourn, they rent their clothing, which basically means they show their chest, which means, take my heart, Lord, something to that effect. But he seems to think that they're like hulking out or something. I think he's just trying to find dramatic moments to complain about, although he doesn't do a very good job of it. I don't know what he's thinking half the time. But I can promise you one thing. He's having way too much fun to end this series. I don't think he'll do that. And since I can read ahead and know how much further he's gone, I can tell you he doesn't do that. So that's not going to happen. Maybe go through it again or tell him to rewatch the podcast, right? Well, I don't actually speak to him personally. I don't have any idea whether he watches my podcast or not. I watch his. And you mean the world to me, too. Thank you. As a matter of fact, the only time I spoke to him was when I was setting this whole thing up and getting permission to do all the things I'm doing. And I spoke to him then, and he seemed to be gracious in allowing me to tear him apart. And hasn't complained since, as long as I make sure to, leave links to his videos, and also I present them in full without editing them, so that's a plus. So what you see is what he presents in his own videos. I stop them, but that's all. I don't take anything out or add anything. So whatever you see is what he actually thinks. It's amazing. Yeah, he'll find something to debate about. However, he's not asking any of the right questions. The questions you should be asking by reading these things. It's like he is so secular that he cannot even see the spirituality that's going on. Why all of these things are happening the way they're happening. And that they did indeed happen. And I can prove it, because everything mentioned in this Bible is still there to this day, and you can find it if you know where to look. I don't know if he does or not. I've never asked him. He might. But I know that some of his watchers watch. Some of his viewers watch this podcast. Occasionally they've come on to try and discredit me or call me names or something like that, which means that I'm doing the right thing. No, No royalties. I'm not making any money off of his podcast, so there wouldn't be any royalties to give him. What I get are donations from people who love what I do. Those are from you to me, or from whoever to me. That has nothing to do with him. Now, if I monetize this channel, which I'm not going to do, because that would mean I'd have to run ads on it, and I don't think that's fair to the viewer, and I don't want to pollute what I'm doing. But if I were to monetize this channel, then yes, he would get a royalty. He wants to find wrong and the whole truth, and it's not going to happen. No, it's not, and I'm not going to let it happen either. Everything he gets wrong, I've committed to setting right, and it'll be on the internet for anybody to find forever, as long as I have anything to do with it anyway. Yep. And a lot of times they'll just sit in the background and not say anything and just watch. A lot of times they'll be just you, your mom, and Kevin talking, but there'll be 8 or 9 people, just like there's 4 people here now, and you're the only one talking. So it's a slow growing podcast, but we'll get there, because the truth always finds a way. And that's all I talk about is the truth. I don't put my opinion in it at all, or I try not to. And if I do, I'll let you know up front it's my opinion. I guess I have done that before, but I try to talk about things I know about, things that I've studied. And, when I say this and this and this happened, it's because I know it happened, not because I assume it happened. How do I know it happened? Because I went looking for it and I found it, or I found evidence of it. And I'm not hard to please. It don't take much. If the Bible says there's 3 palm trees and an oasis in the desert, and I go looking in the desert and find an oasis with 3 palm trees, and it's on the route between 2 cities that it was talking about, then I believe that's the place. That's good enough. I don't have to actually find records that the people were there. Obviously they were, or nobody'd know to tell about that spot. Just like, say, the city of Zion, right? That's David's city, King David's city, which is leveled to the ground. In Jerusalem right now, if you go to the backside of the city, almost to the outskirts, you'll find an area of rubble, and there's a staircase that goes up to nothing. I mean, like, there used to be a building there, but it's not there anymore. That spot is in the exact location of where Zion once was. And I know it's that place because of the proximity to the Dome of the Rock. And the Bible makes it very clear how far it is from that location, because Herod's temple was built on the Dome of the Rock, but Solomon's temple was not. It was built on Zion. And it tells you in the Bible the proximity, the distance. It's very close. I mean, it's like you could throw a rock and hit it. It's like 200 feet. It's very close. And that's how I know that staircase once went into the city of Zion. Of course, that city is no longer there, and it's just an empty area now. There's other buildings that were built on top of the rubble, but the original structure is just the staircase. The rest of the city's gone. But things like that, and I look for those things before I commit that to my memory as a thing that occurred. So when I teach it, it's that I know it happened. You had a good crowd a couple weeks ago. Yep, it happens. I know you will, and I trust your opinion and all that you have to say. Thank you. I work hard to sound like I know what I'm talking about. A lot of reading and a lot of studying maps and looking at pictures of places and tracing routes and things like that. And also learning history because, like, the place that we call the Silk Road, which was once a trade route between two big cities where they would trade goods and silks and spices and things. Before that, it was called something else. And you have to know that. You have to go back into history to find out what that route was once called. Turns out it's the route to Petra, the city that's built on the face of the rock. And that's where it goes through that area. That once was a trade route for the Hebrews a long time ago. The Bedouins have been using it for years, but it belonged to certain people in the past. And once you start reading all these weird names like El Bethel and things like that, and then you find those places today, most of them have very similar names to the names they were given in the Bible, or they're named something that would lead you to find the original name. So it's time consuming, but it's worth it to prove that the Bible is real and every word of it is true. I've never found one lie in the Bible, not one, and I've been looking for over 30 years. I've seen some places where people could easily misconstrue what was being said, but that's just it. When you read it literally, it is telling you exactly what the truth is. Thank you. I try. If you are the only person that gets anything out of my life's work, I will be happy with that. But I hope that many, many, many people will eventually see this show and get something out of it. He must. You have to go through all those law books. He must have a mind for history because it can be a very boring subject. But it's kind of like archaeology too. Anybody's ever seen Indiana Jones loves archaeology anyway, so it's like a textual archaeology. I love history, but I love ancient history. I don't care much for modern history. Like the history you learned about in school, I don't care much for that stuff. I love the ancient stuff, though. What was it, a city, you said? I was talking about Zion a minute ago. I don't know. I don't understand the question. I was just talking about cities in general. Sports update. Tampa Bucks clinch playoffs north with win Saturday. First time in playoffs since 2008. Go Bucks. Wow. They deserve that win, don't they? They ain't done it since 2008. Well, it must. One thing I find fascinating is connecting all the ancient cities that nobody seems to understand. He wanted to be an architect. Well, that's cool. My sister wanted to be an architect. She studied it for a while, too. But alas, she followed her namesake and became a florist. Oddly enough, that's her last name, too, Flores. Interesting how things work out. And I wanted to be a guitar player, and here I am teaching the Word of God. Go figure. I guess God has plans for us that we don't necessarily have. Oh, but Zion is a city. Yes, Zion was a city. It was David's capital city. You know how every king would set up a capital city where they would reign from? That was his. And it was set up in Jerusalem, but first it was at another place, and then they moved it to Jerusalem. You see, when David took reign, he was anointed by God to be the next king. But Saul, the current king, didn't see it that way. And so for a while they were at each other. David did not want to kill Saul because he grew up with him and he loved him. But Saul had gotten wicked in his old age and was trying to kill David. So instead of battling him, David ran from him, kept him running, and snuck up on him a couple of times and cut a piece of his cloak off while he was in a cave taking a shit in the dark, and then presented it to him later to say, look, I was this close to you. I could have killed you several times, but I didn't. So get off my back. It's not my fault you've been dethroned by God. And eventually, Saul relinquishes to his own sword, I might add, and David becomes king. Well, when David becomes king, he sets up in the city where Saul had reigned from until he gained power, and then he moved his capital city into Jerusalem. Very interesting stuff. See, in the beginning, Saul and David had kind of a bromance going on. They kind of were very close, if you know what I'm saying. They might have been really close, if you know what I'm saying. I don't know for sure, but it kind of sounds that way. They definitely loved each other, put it that way. Another sports update. Dolphins won Saturday and will clinch the playoffs north if they beat Buffalo next week. Go Dolphins. That was a stupid question. My bad. Sorry. No question is stupid. There's no such thing as a dumb question. Only dumb people. I'm just kidding. No such thing as a dumb question. If you're questioning, you're thinking, and that's what I'm asking you to do. So good on you. Da, 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 sports update. Is this atheist dumb? That's a dumb question. Well, he thinks he's pretty smart. I mean, just look at the look on his face. I've never seen somebody that thought they were so clever as he. He clearly thinks he's above board, but he's wrong, isn't he? Kevin is drinking. It's a full moon. OMG. Wow, that's really horrific about Saul and David. Yep, yep, yep. The Bible never clearly states it, but I think they were very close. He's wrong, but he's funny. As long as he's funny, I am an airhead. Well, that might come in handy. You won't ever have a flat tire. I just started drinking. Had chili and a glass of milk earlier. Oof, that might come back to haunt you. That might not work in your favor, buddy. I can imagine milk mixing with chili, but it does sound good. It already did haunt me. I hear you. I think the only thing I've eaten today is an oatmeal cream pie that I haven't eaten yet, but I'm going to eat it later. Then I'm going to go to bed so I can get up early and do some running in the morning. Too much monkey business. I'll let the man have a little monkey business. Little Debbie. She is my mistress. Little Debbie and a Mountain Dew, and I'm going to bed. Yes, ma'am. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da. Well, tell your mama that I missed her tonight. I like it when she's here. And that I was thinking about her. One more time, real quick, for the cheap seats. Press all the buttons and do all the things. Go to paypal.me/Jake Johnson Band. I love you guys with all my heart. God bless you and be with you. Kevin, if you need to talk, I'm here, buddy. Third sports update. Packers playing Titans in Lambeau. Full snowstorm. Wow. I think it's going to snow here, too. Don't mention it. Anytime. Day or night, doesn't matter. If you need anything, just let me know. Or reach out to somebody. Good night. I love you guys. I'm sorry for your loss. And I hope tonight brought a little levity. And I will see you guys tomorrow night to finish out the book of Luke. That's going to be exciting. I love you true. God bless you too. Please do tell her. Y'all have a great night. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. And I'll see you tomorrow. I'm out.